Everyone, it's Donna Jakunis, and this is a sequential artist workshop, Procreate and Tech Tips session. I'm going to spotlight my iPad for you all because that's where we're going to be spending most of our time, and gonna talk about stealing like an artist today. This is a topic that's always with my heart, but we're gonna talk a little bit about the book, and I'm going to show you why and how this is the best advice ever. Okay. So here's the book, Steal Like an Artist, and I have the link for it on there. A lot of you probably have seen it already. It's available on Amazon and various places by Austin Kleon, and it's all about how artists get ideas from other artists and put them together into new ways to create your own stuff. So since I talk about stealing like an artist all the time, I wanted to share the source of that quote for me. So, and this is what we are going to steal. I saw this on Instagram last week. This is by Jesse Lonergan, who is a comics artist. And he made this drawing out of stamps. I don't know if you can see, there's some stars in there. There's some flowers over here and some other, like a date stamp or something, and different textures, little dots. He made this out of stamps, and I thought, what a cool technique. Now, I didn't realize it because I immediately thought of Procreate and stamp brushes. But he did this with rubber stamps on paper. Oh. There's no way I would probably ever do something like that, but it's cool either way. Either way, just the idea of combining stuff like that to create textures and values, lighter gray, darker gray, black. I just thought that was like so fucking cool that I had to say that here. This is why we're stealing it, because I thought it was really awesome. So let me show you a little bit more of what he did there in this close-up. So you can see there's little flowers, big flowers, some curly cute things with dots, a couple of different kind of stars. Then there's a grid of dots, some little, I don't know what that was supposed to be, but little look like hard-boiled egg things, stripes, all these things he put together in that drawing. So I decided I wanted to steal that idea and not necessarily draw stuff, but see if I could do shading and textures with stamp brushes. So here's a cube I did I tried to make a light, medium, and dark color by combining different stamp brushes that had more or less black in them, or that were made with thicker lines or thinner lines. So I think that came out pretty cool, right? Just for trying out, can I get a gray? Can I get a black? Can I get a really light color? So I don't know why, but I just think this is the coolest thing. You know, I know you can do it with color, you can do it with regular brushing and cross hatching and halftone dots, which is cool too. I love especially halftone dots, but I just think this is like really cool. So I made a bunch of brushes, stamp brushes, and I'm going to go a little bit over how to make stamp brushes again, just for anyone who's watching this that didn't see the other one. But I made all these stamp brushes. This one's actually black. I had it toned down. I made all these stamp brushes just to play with textures with. And this is the link I posted on the Mighty Network, and I'll show you at the end the link and how to download and get these if you want to use them. But can you see this one I made out of dashed lines that are pretty thin. So I thought this will come out as a light color gray if I stamp it all over the place. And then this one was going to be something else, but it looked so cool, I just saved it. So it comes out like a medium dark because it has like really light areas and these dark areas. And then of course the star comes out really dark because it's solid black, and this comes out lighter or darker depending how big you make it. Yeah, so I made all these brushes because I thought that was really fun, and I love making texture. I love making little patterns anyway. I do this in my sketchbooks just for the hell of it. And so why not make stamp brushes out of them for this? Because I didn't want to use only brushes that I got from other people. So I have stamp brushes. Like I got these from someone. These are really cool. They're called doodle brushes. And I Googled for free Procreate stamp brushes to get some to try out before I drew a bunch of my own for this experiment. So I found those doodle shapes. I searched also for space stamp brushes. So I found some that have stars and planets, and I found some little flower doodles. So you can find all kinds of cool things for stamp brushes, and I know that some of you already make your own. And I have made a bunch before for other reasons, but I didn't think these were really what I wanted for making textures because they're all really solid, got a lot of solid black in them, or they're all the same kind of line width, and I wanted more variation. So that's why I did all these different shapes. And what I'm doing here, if you don't know this already, if you click and hold for a second on a layer in the layers list, that layer will turn on and all the other layers will turn off. So if you want to go through and see what's on each layer in your drawing, that's the best way to do it. What's really cool about it, or the really useful purpose of it, is if you have something like that and you've got a bunch of layers on and you're like, where is that leaf? I don't know what layer it's on. Sometimes you can see it in these little drawings and sometimes you can't because it's too small. So you can turn on and off one layer at a time, press and hold, then lift until you find the one with the thing you want to erase. And then you can, get rid of it. So, yeah. So I used, yes.
Can I interject a question? When you tell me about erasing that 1/4 and how it erased the 4 other quarters.
That's exactly where I was going.
Oh, good, of course. There we go. Thank you.
So, some of these drawings are pretty straightforwart, right? I just drew a zigzag and copied and pasted it to make multiple copies of it. This is a clip art I downloaded and pasted in because I was not going to try to draw that many like equal squares. So I got a clip art. Yeah, so those are just pretty straightforward. Steal like an artist or just draw a really basic geometric shape and duplicate it. But some of these, as you can see, are symmetrical and they rotate around the center point of the square. Now you always use a square canvas when you're making a brush. So let's just go to the one where we may as well make a brush and I'll show you how that works with the quadrants. So you always use a square canvas to make a brush. And when you open a new canvas in Procreate, it should come with one called square. So you pick that and you draw your black and white shape. So let's turn off all these layers. I'll make a new one. And I'll set my color to black by double clicking in the lower left corner of the circle disc. And I'll pick a brush that's not a stamp brush, just a drawing brush, syrup that comes with Procreate. Okay, and now when I draw, what I want to do is set this up so that it will draw in all 4 quadrants the same thing. So I want to go into my wrench tool actions menu, and make sure drawing guide is clicked on. It's usually off by default. So if it's off, turn it on. And then right below it, it says edit drawing guide. So I click on that, and usually it comes up like this with a checkerboard and 2D grid on the bottom highlighted. But we're going to go all the way to the right and click on symmetry. And then below symmetry, after you click on it, you click on options, and you can do vertical symmetry, which mirrors right and left. Say you wanted to draw a butterfly and you wanted both wings to be exactly the same. That would work. There's horizontal, which would work. Actually, for starting a drawing where there's a reflection in the pond, you could do that. And then on the bottom of the drawing, you could go in and add effects to blur it and make it look like a reflection. And then there's quadrant, which is 4. That's the one I'm using. And radial, which does 8 sections. So we're going to go to quadrant, and then we're going to do one more thing. And we're going to go to the bottom and make sure rotational symmetry and assisted drawing are checked. Rotational symmetry will make these curve around so that they all go around like in a spiral. If you turn that off, each one will just be out straight from the center. It won't rotate. I could show you both, but let's start with rotational symmetry on, because that's what I did. Then you can, I always make the opacity of the lines maximum down at the bottom here, and the thickness maximum, and I pick a bright color from here. So I already have this green color checked. And then I'm going to click done. Be really careful, because if you miss, you'll click here and turn your lines white, and then you can't see them. So be really careful when you click done that you don't turn the lines white.
Oh,
okay, and now I have my thing. Yes?
I was just going to say, I always wondered why they always turned white. It's just you slip off the done. That I didn't.
Yes,
think
if you slip off the done, it turns white. So they need to move that feature, but be careful. Yeah. Okay, so now my new layer, my layer that I was on, it says assisted here underneath the name of the layer, which is just layer 4. And you can click on the name or picture of the layer to bring the menu up, and you can turn drawing assist on and off for the layer. We'll leave it on right now. And now I'm going to take my syrup brush and I'm just going to draw. So see, this comes out on each side. Okay, you take that out. So if I go something like that, it just rotates it around. Okay, so let me show you this just for a quick comparison. Rotation is on, then makes a pinwheel, right?
So cool.
I'm going to undo that so it's clear again. I'm going to go back into edit drawing guide. We're still on symmetry, and we're going to turn in the options rotational symmetry off. Okay, click done. And now, see, it's not creating a spiral. It's creating a reflection both ways, vertical and horizontal. So either one works for creating like geometric kind of brush for a stamp. So we can just draw on this. You know, and like I was saying, I was thinking of things that would make different levels of grayscale when I made them into a brush. So on some of mine, I put little things like that because I thought, well, that'll make it less white in the plain areas, right? You can do whatever you want there. And that is ready to be made into a stamp brush. So the easiest way to get from this to a stamp brush is, yeah, we'll just go back here for a minute. Step 2, after you draw the black and white shape, step 2 is copy the canvas. So when we have that layer on that we just drew, we just go up to the wrench, click add, and click copy canvas down at the bottom of the list. Okay, and it'll say copied when it's done. And now you have copied this, everything that's showing on your screen, to the clipboard. So now we're going to make the brush. So we can go into our brush menu. And what I do is I don't start from scratch. I start with a stamp brush and change it. So if you want one that comes with Procreate, in the water section, there's one called Blotch. Sorry, there's a brush called Blotch. This is a good stamp brush to use. So you go to the water section that come with Procreate. It has these little water lines on it, and pick the Blotch brush. First thing you do, swipe left, duplicate it, because you don't want to do anything to the original one. You want to make a copy. Then when it's highlighted blue, click it again, and the Brush Studio opens. We're only going to do one thing right now, and that's go down a few things to shape. And we're going to change the shape from this blotch to what we just drew. So we click Edit up here above the shape source, Edit, and then up here in the shape editor, we click Import, and you just say Paste. And now there is the one that we made. Now, when you have a brush, you basically want it to be mostly black and the drawing to be white. So sometimes it comes in that way and sometimes it doesn't. To change it, just touch it with 2 fingers. So it toggles back and forth. So we want it to be mostly black with white. Now I say done, changed my brush. And I say done. And now I have a new brush. So let's make a new layer and have only that new layer on. There in my brushes, you see the new one I just made. This was the original blotch. This says blotch number 2, copy of blotch that I made. And now I can go in here and make a texture with that. And you can just paint with it. I just erase by 3 fingers back and forth, or you can tap with it. You notice when you tap with it, it changes the size every time you tap it. But if you paint with it, it stays the same or pretty close to the same. Let's go back into the brush and I'll show you how you can control that. So far we edited the shape and that's it. And now we're going to go down to Apple Pencil, and you'll see that this comes from Blotch. The size, pressure size is all the way up at 81%. So this is very pressure sensitive. If I tap a little harder, it gets a lot bigger. So you can turn this, the closer you get to 0, the more the same size your things stay. So again, 3 fingers back and forth erases the layer. Now when I tap, 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 they stay the same size. I can make them bigger and smaller with the brush size controller. Okay, so that is how I made these brushes that I have in the set that I showed you. So we'll just go back and look at the steps again. You draw the square shape, you copy canvas, you duplicate a brush that's already existing, so why start from scratch? And I used the water brush called Blotch. You go into the brush editor and edit the shape by pasting in what you copied from the canvas, and voila, you have a new stamp brush. Do we have any questions before I go on?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, well, go ahead, Mariah.
How about that twist? I have found it before, but which of the menu items determines whether the image twists each time you tap it or doesn't?
Oh, yes. Okay. So this thing is not staying the same rotation every time I tap it or as I draw it. It's moving all over the place. What if you don't want that to happen? Let's go back into our same brush. And We have shape. So one thing we have is scatter. Nothing. That's set at the, right in the middle. So nothing's set here. So it's not in there. It could be, but it's not in there. We have dynamics. Nothing set in there. We have properties. I can never remember where this is. I'm just like you, Mariah. So I have to go through and look through it. Aha. Spacing and jitter. That doesn't seem to change the rotation. That moves things around, like how if they're drawing in a straight line or not. So it's not that.
Rotation right
turn
there.
Randomness off. Rotation set to 0 there. This is the thing about this particular thing is there are multiple places that you can have it. So like, yes, if rotation was turned up here, see, they rotate. And because it's clicked on random, that's one way to create this, what's happening. But there's more than one. So it's not in color dynamics, Apple Pencil, pressure changes the size. Not property. There it is, scatter, shape behavior, scatter. Let's try turn that off. Let's turn randomize off. There you go. So where was that? There's two things in the shape. There's scatter and rotation, and randomize changes things in a crazy way. That is what I turned off for this one.
Got it. Thank you, Donna.
Sure. I always have to look for that too, because I would think it would be rotation and then that was already off. So scatter is another thing. Which is the setting that allows you to move the pencil and then additional brush stamps appear? I don't know, Susan. You mean like here, I'm actually drawing with it. Some stamp brushes, if you do that, it just draws one and won't draw anymore. I do not know that setting, but I will look it up and try to figure that out. I don't like that. I like to be able to use it either way. But I don't know what that setting is, so I will have to find out. Okay, let me just show you what I ended up using these for, which was hair. I had like super fun making hair with these brushes. So these are 3 examples that I did. So just go in here and I'll show you. These are photos from the Sketchy app called Museum. And they're great for having reference photos for drawing people. And they're really fun. They have a lot of fun, photos. A lot of portraits, a lot of full body poses. And they also have animals and scenery and other stuff too. So this is the set that I gave you. DD Stamps 2 is what it's called. And this is the first ones I made are the ones I showed you where it was like a spiral and this crisscross spiky thing and little spirals and zigzags. And I used all the rounded ones in her hair because she has curly hair and I wanted it to show, kind of reflect the shape. And because I'm always afraid I'm going to ruin something, it's like I did a different one in each layer. So I made 4 layers for the hair. And I added the outline last, actually. So what I did was I had her face and then I just did the hair with the different texture brushes and then I put the outlines on. So that was super fun. And like I said, I chose rounded ones because I wanted it to be curly hair and really, really tight curls. So that's what I did for that one. Okay. And then I said, can I do straight hair? So I did this one. Now this was fun because, like if you draw and Procreate, well, you have to draw with a regular brush, not a stamp brush, if you want to actually draw, right? So go back to my line brush. You know, if you draw on Procreate and you hold it down, it changes it to a really nice curve, or if it's almost a square, it changes it to a, you know, a corner. If it's, and you can make a rectangle that way by drawing and holding, things like that. Well, I was drawing her hair first, and I accidentally held my pencil down too long, and it made it into this geometric shape with all these sharp angles. And I said, oh, that's really cool. So I just drew the rest of her face that way too, for fun. And then, and I think amazingly, it kind of looks like her. But anyway, I used different things in this hair because it's straight. So I used just the dashed line. It's not a stamp brush. It's just a brush I have of a dashed line. And then interesting, I wanted things to be vertical, but I didn't want it to be all just straight lines. So I put flowers and things in there and little textures, diamonds and things like that. And then I added one more layer. If I just turn on that layer, it's more vertical lines. And these are from one of the brushes I did in the stamps brush that has a bunch of vertical lines together. So you can add a bunch at once instead of just one line. So that's what I did for her hair. So I thought that was really fun. And then the last one, I wanted to do a space theme. So I added more brushes to the set. I made some planets and the star. So that was really fun. And I drew them. I looked up some clip art and saw like ideas and then drew my own versions of them. You know, I wanted swirly lines and some texture for asteroids, and I put rings on one of them, stuff like that. But, you know, they're not like actual drawings of the real planets in our solar system. So I wanted to make space hair. This is for a specific project I'm working on, but I really wanted to have space hair. So her hair is made all out of planets and stars. That's it. And again, I did it in a couple layers because I thought if I mess up, I could easily turn on and off one layer if I added too much texture or made it too dark or whatever. So that was my silly, fun project that I did with these brushes. So you guys have any questions or any like ideas what you might do with them? Because I think it was like totally funny. Funny, and I think I'll use it because it's like a way, you know, like in comics, we like we, well, they do this in other things too, but I think it's like an Easter egg, and it adds like an extra level of what's the like hidden symbolic meaning in these images that we're drawing. We're always looking for ways to include more meaning, and I think this is like a really like cool way to do it.
It also, Donna, yeah, your enthusiasm is infectious and impressive, all that creativity. This is great. Yeah, and I forget totally what else I was going to say about it. Oh, I know. Just that it feels like cheating to me in a great way. Like, oh, well, no, in a good way. I mean, you don't have to, yeah. Well, like stealing can be a good thing too. You don't have to draw so much. You can just stamp this thing you've already drawn once. And then you can make it bigger or smaller or rotating or whatever, different colors. Right. Yeah. So I just love that part of it. It feels like it's a shortcut.
Yeah, it's a shortcut. It's also just digital tools, right?
Yeah.
There's these brushes I have here. I got several sets from this artist that makes the brushes. And I'll look up her name, Maddie Belwar. she made a set of brushes to do like Ghibli style backgrounds, like from the movies, and some gouache brushes. And I just really like her brushes. So I bought several sets of them. And she has these things she calls texture painters in the gouache set. And when you, instead of making one brush mark, it just makes a bunch at once. So it's the same thing, right? So why go and do one at a time if you want to make like a rough texture on something? Why not have a brush that'll just make a bunch of them at once instead of, because it's not a paintbrush, so this one's especially good, I think. See? And it's not a paintbrush, so there's no reason you have to tap once for each mark. It's a digital tool. Cool. Yeah. So I think that's one of the really cool features of digital tools, is that you can cheat like that.
Well, to some degree, you know, the inspiration image for you with this, Donna, you discovered had been made with stamps, with physical stamps.
Right.
And so that's, you know, a way of creating an image that then you like physically pick up and stamp and stamp and stamp and stamp again. I mean, I've got a number of brush sets that have cross hatching stamps, essentially. And those will probably be good ones for me to like go borrow the engineering of those stamps, because some of them, when you draw with them with more pressure, they become darker versus less pressure or lighter, which is, you know, kind of what you want to do oftentimes if you're using cross hatching, is you want it to be darker around the edge and then sort of lighter as it moves into the white space.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of things like that that are shortcuts in digital. The other thing is, Jesse Lonergan here, he did not make these stamps. He bought stamps. They're physical stamps, but he did not make the stamps. He used them to make a drawing. So you do not have to make all your own stamp brushes. I just happen to enjoy drawing little doodle shapes and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, so I super had fun with it. I'm trying to make it speaker view, but I'm not showing up when I speak now. So
we see you.
Oh, okay. So I don't know what gets recorded. I always worry about what's getting recorded, what's showing on the recording screen. But yeah, so this was super.
Is the recording off, or is the recording still on?
Oh, the recording's still on.
Oh, it's still on.
So I'm gonna put my iPad back because. Go ahead, Susan.
Well, I was just gonna say I wanted to just chat for a few minutes about that paper app, if anybody's interested.
Paper app. I just want to show first how to download these brushes, because you said it didn't act normal because I put them in Google Drive. So let me just show you quickly, so it's in the video, how to download these brushes. Okay, so I'm going to put the link in the comments, and it's in the Mighty Networks thing, and I'll put it in the YouTube comments. I'll make sure that the link's everywhere where you might see it. So that's the link, and it goes to Google Drive, so it acts a little different than other things. When you click on the link, you'll get this thing in Google Drive that has a little zipper in it, and it might say file format not supported on it, okay? Or you might see the name of the brush. Don't double click on it, just highlight it, and then go up here to the 3 dots and click it, and this menu opens, and in the middle of it says open in. So you click the 3 dots and you click open in, and then this will come up and you can click Procreate, and it will bring the brushes right into Procreate. If you double click on the brushes, for some reason, Susan and I discovered that it thinks it's a zip file, and it shows you all stuff inside of it, and it's very confusing. So use the little menu dots and open in Procreate to get the files. Okay, so that's all I have for today.
Yeah, another question. I ended up getting some, but I felt like I wasn't getting all of them. Can you just tell us about how many brushes are in there?
Yeah, it's a brush set, so they should be all in there, and I don't know how many there are, but there's these doodles and zigzags, and then a couple of tire marks and straight lines and 4 or 5 planets.
Okay, I've got that. Thanks.
So yeah.